Money Talk with Melanie features lively discussions of a wide range of global, domestic, and kitchen table financial topics. Money Talk with Melanie on 98.7 The Coast.
Welcome back to Money Talk with Melanie. We're here in our second hour, and our guest this hour is Oreste DAversa. I hope I got that right. He is going to spill his secrets on how success in today's digital age can be achieved with a strong work ethic. A little bit about Oreste. He is a business coach, consultant, a corporate trainer, university lecturer, author, public speaker, and spiritual coach/advisor. He is also an interfaith, meaning all faiths, minister ordained by the New Seminary in New York City, New York, helping people by offering spiritual guidance, helping find their true life purpose, and living their true spiritual path. He has appeared on radio and television as well as having his work featured in various newspapers and journals, and it's my pleasure to welcome Oreste to Money Talk with Melanie this evening. How are you?
Very good, thank you, and thank you for having me as a guest on your show tonight.
It's my pleasure. I love to always have a situation, not always I shouldn't say it, but I love when we have the opportunity to talk about the hybrid between our faith and our life purpose and things like that. I think it's an important part of our lives, especially when we're talking about things like our work and our money. I don't know how people function without that, quite honestly.
No, I agree with you. It's really all interdependent upon each other, and that's a fancy word to saying that one really leverages off the other one as well.
For sure. So, yeah, I when I saw your profile, I really wanted to invite you on the show as a guest because I always think that when somebody has that context, that my audience is better for that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The truth of the matter is we're all spiritual beings having a human experience. So I believe in the following, and I share this with folks, that we're made up of really 4 to 5 components. And for the most part, people know what they are, but sometimes they need to be clarified. The physical, the mental, the emotional, and spiritual, and then there's the soul. The physical is pretty straightforward. That's our bodies. Then the mental is our minds. The emotional is the emotional heart. The spiritual is the life force. And the soul is the interface with the Creator or God or a higher power, whatever you believe that to be. The challenge that's been happening, I would say, these past 25 years is that the physical has been accelerating, and we're seeing the importance of the mental, especially with all the stresses that we're under in the modern-day society or in a living, and to balance the other things. And the other components, the emotional and spiritual, they play a very important part, too, but in our society, for the most part, we miss these things. But we could tell when people are out of balance or have a dis-ease situation on their hands.
Ooh, that's an interesting phrase. So your focus, or at least most recently that you've written about, and we'll talk a bit about your book as well. I should also mention that Oreste is the owner of Metropolitan Small Business Coaching, LLC. So you should check out his website, metrosmallbusinesscoaching.com. I can't believe I didn't mention that.
That's all right, thank you.
So, work ethic, I was talking about this with my last guest, how it's kind of a naughty phrase, right, these days, to kind of hold people accountable and say that they should have good work ethic. And even what work ethic is kind of being redefined when you think about things like quiet quitting and that trend that's going on in the workforce right now.
No, I agree. I think we're going to, I'm not going to call it a revolution, but I think we're going through an evolution in the workplace. We have a younger generation who has a certain ideal of what the workplace should be. Then we have a older generation that knows what the workplace is, and we have to have kind of a meeting of the minds. The concern with these new terminologies of quiet quitting, quiet firing, and now the new one happens to be quiet hiring, is we're going to an era which is not good of not talking and not communicating. And I think that is a product of living behind screens and not communicating face-to-face. And I think we're seeing consequences of that now, only to get worse. Hopefully it can be remedied with communicating again face-to-face and airing grievances and trying to find a medium where both parties could have a win-win situation.
For sure, and it's weird because you would think, at least I would think, that we would have greater opportunities to communicate with more people, get more diverse thoughts, and that would be a good thing with the technology being what it is, right? Like you have access to so many more people.
Without question. I was in the technology industry for 20 years, 10 of which in the .com era. I'm a .com refugee, and technology is a double-edged sword, unfortunately. It's a good thing and it's a bad thing. As the book says, these are the best of times and these are the worst of times. We're communicating with people on a global level. I personally do business with people all over the world in various ways, and that to me is simply amazing in this day and age that I can send an email to someone in Bangladesh, and within 30 seconds to a minute they're communicating with me. And what's even more fabulous, and this was, showing my age a little bit, there was a cartoon show called The Jetsons many years ago when they used to show video conferencing, and now video conferencing is no big deal. We do it as we breathe. There was another show back in the day, the original Star Trek. If you recall, Uhura used to wear a piece in her ear, which is today's Bluetooth. And if you remember, Captain Kirk used to sign off on orders, and that's an iPad. That's a tablet. So what was science fiction yesterday has become science fact today. But the challenge is, unfortunately, as I previously mentioned, is humans are not keeping up on a spiritual, emotional, mental level with the technology. So the technology is catapulting, and we're not keeping up as well with it on a humane level, and that's a concern as a minister. It's also a concern as a business person, because if I can't communicate with people who work with me or for me, my business is not going to make any money. I'm not going to be productive. They're not going to make any money. They're not going to be productive. So it has multiple ramifications.
That's for sure. Lots of ramifications with that. So I talked a little earlier in the opening about work ethic and how I think you agree that work ethic as a term is kind of being redefined or evolving. How would you define work ethic as it stands now?
Well, work ethic, the basics are the basics. Work ethic means you're going to show up on time. You're going to put in a day's work for a day's wage. You're going to make the effort to be a contributing member of that organization, be it a business, be it a nonprofit. Someone's paying you a wage, a salary to deliver certain services, and you should be delivering those services on a timely manner. My concern is words like your word is your bond is starting to not mean anything anymore. So if you tell your employer you're going to deliver X amount of a task on a given time and a given date, you should be delivering and holding to that word that you gave. That word is like a verbal contract, and unfortunately those verbal contracts are not being honored.
Yes, it's like a suggestion now.
Yes, exactly, and that's a big concern, because organizations can't work on suggestions. They have goals and objectives. In the private sector, it tends to be financial. In the public sector, it tends to be objectives. But the work ethic is the grease that keeps the machinery of organizations going. And if that work ethic is not there, sooner or later, the cog's going to start squeaking louder and louder, and eventually the cogs are going to start breaking off teeth to the point that the organization doesn't function properly.
For sure. Now, in your piece that you wrote about work ethic in the digital age, you list, it looks like it's in alphabetical order, some characteristics of a strong work ethic. I noticed appearance was on there.
Well, go ahead.
I think that's one of the kind of areas in which we've deteriorated a bit. We don't get dressed anymore.
Right, I agree with it. Right, so you don't, when you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you produce good. The challenge is, and I know we've all gone through the COVID together, and COVID should not be used as an excuse to just forget about reality. All right. Back in the day, when you went to work, there was a certain dress code, and the only time that was lax was casual Fridays, and even then you still looked professional. You didn't look like you lost everything and you had holes in your jeans and you came to work that you're not ready to work. People need to understand work is work. That's why they call it work. If it wasn't work, they call it something else, like play. It's not play, it's work. You're going to work. To work. Right. Go ahead.
And even when you have casual Friday or casual days, people don't seem to understand like boundaries. They just
right.
all in.
Right.
Okay, casual Friday does not mean your holy pajama pants.
Right.
That's not.
Exactly, and that's the challenge.
Not casual Friday.
Yeah, no, the pendulum, unfortunately, has swung too much to the casualness and too much to the relaxedness. Again, I use the word organizations as opposed to just businesses because both. It doesn't matter whether it's profit, non-profit. An organization has goals and objectives. In the world of business, it tends to be revenue. In non-profit, it tends to be goals oriented to the mission statement of the non-profit. But for these goals to be reached, everyone in the boat needs to push their own oar and do their piece of it so the entire organization can win. So to me, it's a win-win-win situation. If you go to work with a good work ethic, chances are you will get paid and probably get paid more and probably advance in your career. The middle management, the people who manage you, they will see you grow and they will grow in turn going to other positions. The organization wins because now the organization meets its goals and objectives and hopefully they'll reward you in a manner that's appropriate as well. But without that work ethic, without everyone doing their piece, and it doesn't matter what that piece is, but it has to be done. And if it's not done properly and in a timely fashion with discipline and done every day, every work day, you're going to start having problems.
Exactly. Now, another characteristic on the list, I'm going through these because I think it's needed. I think people need to hear it. Which is why I'm breaking this down, because when I saw that list, I was like, wow. Now, I think attendance is a given, right?
Yeah.
You need to go to work.
Right.
You need to go to work. You need to go there whatever time your boss is expecting you.
Right.
And you shouldn't be leaving early, unless there's, a good reason.
Yep.
You need to be leaving early. So attendance is a given, I would think. Now, attitude, I think, is another thing that has kind of been lacking, having a good, positive attitude at work and kind of like a willingness. I think you have it under, I guess, cooperation is another word that you had that describes a good work ethic.
Well, you want to have no one says you have to love the company that you're with, the organization that you're with, but you do want to have a positive attitude because you really want to be part of the solution there, not part of the problem. So you need to understand, again, you're being paid, so the minimum you can do in return for that payment is to act in a manner that's fitting of someone who wants to be there and someone who appreciates having a job. As you know, there are many people who are unemployed, underemployed, and really are scraping by. So you're fortunate enough to have a job. And again, nobody says you have to be, a happy-go-lucky person every time, but at least make the effort of carrying a positive demeanor while you're at work.
Yes, that is a good thing to do. Now, communication, I find, is so tricky. Only because bosses can be so different, right? The supervisors can be so different. So the level to which you communicate, in my opinion, is sometimes dictated by the kind of boss or supervisor you have. I mean, it could also, of course, be your issue as well if you're an introvert or somebody who's shy and doesn't really like to talk. You can see I clearly have that problem. But I think communication can be one of the more complex characteristics of work ethic.
No, without question. And let's face it, businesses are like families. And with every family, some families get along well, some families are dysfunctional, some families have issues. My concern with communication is that more and more people are communicating behind a screen and not communicating face-to-face. There is a big loss of what's being said and not said when you're with someone face to face. There's body language, there's inflection, there's tone. You know, you can actually see, you know, many times, and as you're aware of this, the person's words don't really match what they're saying. Okay.
Yes, I had this happen the other day.
Yeah, you know, as you know, with emails, it gets lost in translation.
Yes.
You know, so my concern is that by doing your communication behind the screen, you're losing all that. Okay? Because
you really are.
You know, as the saying goes, you can't fax a handshake. You can't phone it in. You have to be there because you can read the person's body language, and sometimes it's not what you're saying, it's how you're saying it. All right? And
that's exactly true.
Right.
As a matter of fact, what happened, and this is a person who knows me well.
Yeah.
We're working on a project together, and I asked him a question about the project. He responded, and I said, "Oh, cool." I said, I texted back, "Oh, period, cool, period."
Right.
And he texted me back, "Well, you can just forget about it then. You don't have to do that." And I was like, wait. So I called.
Right.
And I was like, no, I meant that like in a super positive way. But when I went back and looked at it, I was like, no, that definitely does not look positive.
Yeah.
I was like, I should have said, "Oh, comma, cool, exclamation point," right? Would have been better.
Right.
But, you know, to your point, the screen, you lose stuff in the behind the screen.
Yeah.
Opposed to not talking.
Yeah, and that's very important, especially, you know, when you're young. Now, obviously, 100 years ago, I was young as well, so there's a lot of learning that's done face-to-face through mentoring, coaching, supervising, and most of it is done face-to-face. You know, you can't, you know, mentor someone. You can technically mentor someone through email, but you're getting a lot more face-to-face because as you're speaking face-to-face, you can see, is the person really understanding you, or are they just acting like a bobblehead and nodding their heads, and it's going in one ear and not the other, and it's really not sticking.
That is exactly right. I used to tell my students that when I was a teacher. I would say to them, when I'm speaking to you, I need to see your face looking at me, looking at you, so that I know that it's like what I'm saying is fitting, like,
right.
Like it's getting through. And if I can't see your face, I don't know if it's getting through or not.
Right.
So, you know, that's a very good point. Professionalism, another thing. I don't know if it's COVID. I don't know.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, COVID, somehow there's been an unwritten rule that it's okay to behave or not behave in a professional manner. It's okay to dress or not dress in a professional manner. There's certain rules of conduct that we all need to engage in so that society works well. You know what I mean? And again, it's not about liking and not liking. You know, society works because we're all willing to compromise to a certain degree of who we are, and especially working in an organization.
Yes, and I like to refer to those as standards.
Right.
People don't like that word.
I know, but you know.
But I'm like, you know, there's you know, if we all kind of agree to a standard, and we all agree that this is where the standard is, then we'll all get along a lot better once we all know what the standard is.
Right. Well, you know, regarding success, you know, you may not like the fast food restaurants, okay, but they're producing money hand over fist because they have standards, they have processes, and they know how to behave to customers. They know how to treat customers. So it all works and it equals success. There's a discipline, there's a work ethic. People are there when they're supposed to be there. They're taking orders when they're supposed to be taking orders. They're giving customers their food, and it works like clockwork. Again, but I rarely hear anybody says, I like the food at Acme Fast Food Company, okay? We all like the fact that it's convenient, we pay X amount of money, we get food, and we were on our merry way to doing our next task.
That is very true. That is absolutely true.
Okay.
And respect is on here. Now, in what context do you mean respect is related to work ethic?
Well, you really have to be respectful of the other person you're working with, whether you agree with them or not. You know, again, it's a matter of getting along to go along. You know, America being though I'm a first-generation Italian-American myself, America works because it's diversity. all right? And that makes us stronger. So I don't need to like other people, so to speak, but I do have to respect them in what their work ethic is relative to them making themselves successful in our society.
I don't know. I'm meditating for a second.
Okay.
I'm trying to see how I feel about that. Here's why I'm saying that. Because I feel like for example, like different age groups, right?
Right.
Even different cultures have different work ethics. And I feel like as Americans, instead of people having to kind of meet our mark,
right,
that we have to meet everybody else. We're expected to be multicultural instead of the people who want to work here meeting what our culture is. And I don't know, I kind of think that's the way to go. Like if I were to work in, I don't know, Germany.
Right.
I have a girlfriend who works all over the world. She worked in Germany for a few years. I feel like you have to meet whatever their standard is if you're going to be working in Germany.
Right.
So the same thing should be true if you come here to work.
I agree with you. And at one time we had that, like post-World War II. Okay? Now the challenge is we have 4 people in the room, we have 7 opinions. And
right.
that makes it difficult to work. If you recall, after World War II, the baby boomer generation, and yes, I am a baby boomer, but it made sense. You know, you worked, you put your time into work, you went up the corporal ladder or whatever ladder you're in, and you had something to show for it. Now the challenge is, unfortunately, again, we have so many disparate systems that we don't have a common standard anymore, similar to what you were saying earlier. And that makes it very difficult to function.
Indeed. I wonder how you respect other people's cultures and work ethic that may be different than yours. And listen, and some people's work ethic, depending on what culture they come from, is much higher than in America.
Right.
It's not just on the other side.
Right. Right.
We're like behind cultures in our level of work ethic and how important we think work is. So, I mean, it goes both ways.
Right.
So I think it's difficult. Ooh, I'm a minute behind on a break, and my producer definitely warned me. He definitely gave me my 1-minute warning. Completely ignored him. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. We're talking to Oreste DAversa. He is a business coach and consultant, and we're talking about the importance of work ethic and your success in the digital era. We'll be right back on the other side of the break.
Unemployed or underemployed? Have no fear. The Tax Mama is here. Fuel your best career move with Tax Mama. Tax Mama can help you become an IRS enrolled agent with our next live 6-month course beginning in May 2023. Or you can start now with on-demand courses. It's your career on your schedule. Job opportunities are plentiful. Tax Mama offers unlimited access to her tax mentoring portal with all the testing materials you need to overcome any test anxiety. Get your 3-year tax education in 6 months and become an IRS enrolled agent through the Tax Mama. Visit irsexams.school. That's irsexams.school now to get your best career started today.
What if I told you that one small investment can improve the security and curb appeal of your property? Hi, this is Tom with Coastal Fence and Railing. Now is a great time to have a new vinyl fence or railing installed. Coastal Fence and Railing can beautify and secure your yard or deck for your family and the dogs. You would love the added security and appearance of your outdoor living space. We also carry vinyl shower enclosures, arbors, pergolas, and more, serving all of Cape May County. Visit coastalfenceandrailing.com for an instant quote or call us at 609-741-4264. Affordability, security, and beauty. It's all yours from Coastal Fence and Railing.
They say the first impression is always a lasting impression. It's important to look your best on that special day in your life. Wedding, job interview, you name it. Trust the proper care of your clothing to the experts in Cape May County, Michael's Fabric Care. At Michael's Fabric Care, we make it easier than ever to get your clothes looking the best they can. Not sometimes, but every time. Michael's Fabric Care offers dry cleaning services, alterations and repairs, leather and suede cleaning and alterations, tuxedo rentals, and wedding and communion dress cleaning and preservation. Too busy to take your clothes to a dry cleaner? Michael's Fabric Care comes to you. Twice each week, Michael's Fabric Care offers pickup and delivery to your home or business. Let us know what you need. Michael's Fabric Care does the rest. Convenient, affordable, punctual, friendly service. That's Michael's Fabric Care. Life's too complicated to worry about the quality dry cleaning and custom care of your valued garments. Let Michael's Fabric Care in Wildwood do it for you. Michael's Fabric Care, 3209 New Jersey Avenue in Wildwood. Pickup and delivery are available throughout Cape May County to your home or business. Call us today at 522-4499 or find out more at michaelsfabricare.com.
Money Talk with Melanie, brought to you by MrCreditRepair.biz.
Money Talk with Melanie features lively discussions of a wide range of global, domestic, and kitchen table financial topics. Money Talk with Melanie on 98.7 The Coast.
Welcome back to Money Talk with Melanie. Our guest this hour is Oreste DAversa. Did I get that right?
Oreste DAversa.
Oreste DAversa. Oh, dear. my apologies. He is sharing with us secrets on how success in today's digital age can be achieved with strong work ethic, a topic that's near and dear to my heart. I just feel like good work ethic is a dirty word these days, a dirty phrase, and I value strong work ethic. I pride myself in having strong work ethic. I loved the part in your article after you talked about strong work ethic. Your next section says, "Parents, please don't hate me." And as a former teacher, I particularly enjoyed that section. Can you talk a bit about why you said that?
Yeah, my concern is what I'm hearing a lot. I'm based in the New Jersey suburbs here and pretty much in the New York metro area, if not nationwide. I'm hearing that more and more parents either are not encouraging or are allowing their children not to work. Yep. And parents may think they're doing their kids a favor or they don't want their kids to suffer. Whatever the reason is, they're not doing them a favor. Because what's going to happen is sooner or later they're going to hit reality in the face. Reality 101 is going to smack your children right in the face. Okay? On their first job, they're not going to be prepared for the workforce. The workforce, even though some employers have been, I hate to use the word coddling to parents or helicopter parents, which I think is a mistake, but unfortunately they need employees, so they do what they have to do. Children need to understand the importance of working. Besides financial, they need to understand the skills that they get from going to work, building the work ethic, social skills, interfacing with other people, understanding responsibility, understanding how to have interpersonal skills with other people. The list is endless. Building your network. I mean, we could chat the entire remaining of our time together on why children should be working. And let's talk about the word work. All right? Work doesn't always have to be financial. It could be an internship. It could be helping volunteering at a local dog pound. The point is to start learning skills that they will be using the rest of their life. Because if they don't learn them at a young age, I don't know what people think when they get a college degree, that all of a sudden magically they're going to be able to interface with the workforce. And
they really think that that's the way it works.
Right.
Like they really literally do think that's the way it works.
Right. I mean, parents think my child's going to get a degree. It doesn't matter from the most prestigious school. And then magically they're going to be hired, and then magically they're going to be fitting in and having interpersonal skills and dealing with, they're going to be loved by the company, and the company's going to promote them to Grand Poobah, the vice president of the company automatically, and it's just not reality.
Exactly. And have you noticed that adolescents and young adults, many of them tend to be so stressed? Doing what we did, that was no problem. I don't know if you saw the viral video that was out maybe 3 or 4 months ago about this barista at Starbucks who was crying because they were working 25 hours a week and going to school full time.
Right.
And they were really just like, I'm so put upon.
Right.
Life is just so hard.
Right.
And I was like, I worked a full-time job and a part-time job.
Right.
And did a full schedule.
Right, exactly.
Like, what are we talking about?
No, unfortunately, again, because what's happening is, and my observation is, because I think we're living longer, as a whole, people are maturing later in life. So you have someone who's in their 20s has the behavior of someone who's in their teens. And so on and so forth. There's also not a reality check of what it takes to make a living. The reality is, yes, it's becoming, I won't say the word harder and harder. We'll use the word challenging, and more challenging become a living. But the reality of it is the opportunities are out there, and you need to learn how to balance yourself. Hence, what I said to you before, we've taken off on the physical plane, but no one's teaching us how to really deal with the modern-day stress. And I think that's a part of it, that the younger generation, really all generations in our society, is not taught how to deal with stress. And stress just manifests itself in so many different ways, unfortunately.
Exactly. And I don't understand. Like, I get it. You don't want your kids to be stressed, but stress is kind of a part of life.
Right.
Like, I can't tell you how many parents have told me, my kid was crying because that assignment was so hard.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. Those were statistics. I cried too. Like, that's what crying is. What happens when you get frustrated. That does not mean that it's wrong.
Well,
it just means you cried. It doesn't mean that the teacher or the professor is doing something wrong.
No, I agree with you, and unfortunately, people are mistaken kindness for weakness, and they really don't understand that it takes pressure to make a diamond, and it's part of life, because the reality of it is, if you think you're stressed now, wait till you have a family. Wait till you have children. Wait till you, we could spend the rest of our time together discussing the stressors of life. And heaven forbid you have some type of physical illness and manifesting itself. Heaven forbid you lose a loved one while you're going through your life's journey. I mean, we could talk forever. You want to talk about stress, Personally, I took care of 2 parents for 18 years, as an only child. You want to talk about stress. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think that, the parenting styles, the parenting books that were out as these kids were coming up basically was like, put your kid in a cotton ball room and never let them experience the slightest bit of discomfort.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, but if the first time they experience discomfort or stress, or have to discipline themselves to manage their time appropriately, if the first time they do that is when they get their real job, it's too late. It's too late.
No, I agree with you. And the classroom is the perfect place to do, for lack of a better word, tempered stress in a controlled environment.
Yep.
Because you have the support to go to the professor, to go to the other resources that the college and universities provide. To go there and say, look, I'm having a tough time here. And unfortunately, it's either feast or famine. Either you go from a cotton ball environment, like you just said, to an environment that you can't cope with, and that leads to other problems, as we see this huge problem with addiction in our society.
Yeah.
All right, because I'm stressed, I can't deal with life. Give me something to soothe my pain, and unfortunately, there's always going to be stressors in your life. It's the way you handle them. And if you talk to the most successful people in the world, some are with us and some are transitioned. If you look at Muhammad Ali, you look at the folks who have made it, whoever your hero is in whatever field you're in, if you look at those people, and many of them have YouTube bios out there, these people broke their bananas to get where they are now, and they'll tell you horror stories. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's my generation. Hopefully your listeners know who he is.
Yeah, of course they do.
Okay. To win the Mr. Universe contest, he had to sacrifice going to his father's funeral. All right,
wow.
He had to make a hard decision, and his work ethic is brutal. He was exercising, and I'm sure he still does to a certain degree, X amount of hours in the day while working a construction job. He used to work a construction job during the day, and in the evening he used to pump iron, and also used to take acting classes. Okay,
wow.
And, you want to talk about stress. And a whole bunch of other people who are successful, and even people who are modern-day success stories. If you can get a hold of them, or their stories, they'll tell you what they're doing to get the life and lifestyle that they choose. So, again, it's about good stress and bad stress, but we're not taught the mechanisms of how to deal with stress in a constructive manner.
That is absolutely right, and I'm like, I wish you guys let that kid fall, let him scrape his knee, let him fail. Public schools in particular have now, gone into this mode where, you don't need a due date. Let them hand everything in by the end of the marking period. Even if they don't get it in by the end of the marking period, let them hand it in after the marking period is over, and then you can go ahead and change your grade. Well, how are they ever going to learn the consequence of a deadline?
Yeah, exactly. And also you see it in intramural sports with the younger children. Everyone gets a trophy. That's not reality. Okay, not everyone gets a trophy. All right.
That's exactly right. And how do you measure that? How do you aspire? We've forgotten all about one of the most basic values to humankind, which is an intrinsic value, right?
Right.
That feeling of success. And if you if you try to make everybody the same, we're all not the same. We have different gifts and talents. And really, part of the excitement of living every day is figuring out exactly what they are.
Right, and success is earned; it's not given. And people, want to be given success. They want the instant pill, and it just doesn't work that way. You talk to people who are healthy all the time or in shape all the time. It takes work. It takes work. You see the work you do. I mean, to get to what you're doing now, it took work. It took investigation. It took knowledge. It took interfacing. It took networking with people. And now look, you're reaching all these people and helping all these people out. But you have to put the work in. There's no shortcuts. And if you do get the shortcuts, chances are you won't be able to handle it.
Exactly. That is exactly right. And then your third point is that adolescents will understand money better if they work. And listen, some of the things I hear these children saying, one of the things I used to teach was financial literacy.
Okay.
In a high school, and one of the things I've heard a kid say, actually recently, a young person that I know, was complaining that he gets money from work, but he always has to spend it on things like food. And I was like, well, yeah. That's how it works, sir. Like, what?
Right. That's one of the expenses in life.
He was like, well, what do I get by working?
Yeah, well, you get money to buy food.
Like, food.
Right. And as you get older, it's called housing, and it's called a car, and it's called building your life. Right.
And I was just halfway stunned and halfway,
right.
For real?
Right.
It was really like, I understand what's going on. Why do I have to buy food? Why can't my mom just keep buying food?
Yeah, right.
I'm like, so where's she supposed to spend her money on her? I just want to gauge. I mean, he's a fully grown person.
I understand.
I was talking to him.
Yeah, what concerns me reminds me of the old joke. I can't be out of money. I still have checks in my checkbook.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, is there anything in the bank backing up those checks? Well, it doesn't work that way.
And the best time to learn about money and building a strong work ethic is while you're in school with a part-time job.
Right.
I would hear kids say, there's no point in algebra, for example.
Right.
And I'm like, no. You know what the point of algebra is? You learn discipline, resilience, critical thinking, thinking in puzzles and logic. You're learning a whole lot of things that you're going to need every day in life. I would tell kids, going to college is not about being smart.
Right.
Smart is only like maybe 40%, in my opinion. College is about that discipline. It's about time management. It's about organization. It's about learning how to deal with different personalities, a la your professor.
Right.
I worked as a professor for about 5 or 6 years, and the first time someone's parent emailed me, I totally clowned that kid. I was like, you kidding me? You had your mommy email me? You don't have your mommy email your professor, sir. What are you doing?
Right. Well,
but this is the generation.
I understand that, but unfortunately, the society has made it acceptable. Another point of college is teaching people how to think. My concern is people don't want to think anymore, and that's not a good thing.
They don't, because we have information at our fingertips, and some people are missing that is nice, but you're supposed to absorb and meditate on that information.
Right, I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree. It's like a calculator. But you need to know how to do the math first, longhand, and understand how to do that, and then you add a calculator to the mix.
Yes, my students would be so mad. I would teach them how to write checks. And how to do their checkbook, like the manual way, the old school way. And then I would introduce them to online banking.
Right.
And they'd be like, what did you teach me that for? And I'm like, because how are you going to know if there's a mistake made if you don't know how it's done, if you don't know the background?
Right.
How are you going to know? Unfortunately, we're at the close of the hour. Please tell people where they can find you, where they can get your book. Repeat the title again, if you would.
Yes, the book is called Life Beyond the Pandemic, and there's a free chapter available on my website, www.lifebeyondthepandemic.com, and my other small business website is metrosmallbusinesscoaching.com.
Excellent. I really appreciate you being on the show. Some great information, Oreste. Please come back, and the show will drop as a podcast in the next few days, and I'll be sure to tag you.
Very good. Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me as a guest on your show again today.
Thank you. Great job. You have a great night.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.